What's up, everybody? This is Courtland from indiehackers.com, and you're watching Indie Hackers Office Hours. On this channel, we basically bring on an expert or a founder to talk to indie hackers about their businesses and just sort of shoot the shit. And today, I am the host. I'm the creator of Indie Hackers. I started it in 2016 when I wanted to become an indie hacker myself. In a very meta sort of way, I decided to do that by interviewing other people who had the same goal that I did. 9 months later, Indie Hackers was acquired by Stripe. And here I am today talking to beautiful founders such as Brian. Brian, what's up?
Doing well, man. I don't know about the beautiful part, but I'm
What are you up to, Brian? What brings you here?
Yeah, so my team and I, quote unquote, just some friends on nights and weekends, have been jamming on this project we're calling Hannah. And simplest way to say it's just like an API for money. So our thought was like dealing with banks is kind of annoying. I mean, we're not building a bank, but just to say dealing with banks is kind of annoying. There's not a lot of flexibility around most of the financial tools. And so we wanted to build something that was really flexible. And the most flexible thing we could think of would be like an API. And then kind of going beyond that would be like a GraphQL API. So wanted to do stuff like send money from one account to another account, or just be able to like ping a service and ask like, what's my runway look like, you know?
Right.
So our thought is like with this GraphQL API, it's just a big pipe of data from your different bank accounts and different transactions. And then you could leverage something like AWS Forecast or Google's AutoML to maybe do some of that time series forecasting. And then with like Plaid and Stripe, we could do stuff like ACH payments and some like kind of small bank-ish services.
Right.
But it's very small, very primitive.
Trying to get a handle on, because I was going to ask you about Plaid, because I've used Plaid on some projects in the past. Like, where does your service sit exactly? Are you connected to the bank? You connect to the banks through Plaid? Like, what is your API for exactly?
Plaid is doing that authorization. So all we're doing is, and we're like really restrictive in our scope. So it's just like a CLI tool. Maybe at some point long in the future, we could build like a UI on top of it. But we want to just be able to do everything from the CLI. A lot of that inspiration comes from like companies like Zeit, where they build these really, really powerful tools, but you don't have to do a lot of clicking through screens to get stuff done. So the idea would be to log in, set up an account, pass the user a URL that would then take them to the Plaid authorization. Then they could, via Plaid, enter in their bank credentials and wire up their account.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay, so give me like a example use case. Like, I am random user. What problem do I have that turns me on to Hannah and makes me want to sign up? And then how do I use Hannah to solve that?
So maybe you're like a founder and you're maybe doing some freelancing on the side, and then you have this like small project that you're trying to get up off the ground, and you want to know like what the runway looks like for that project, or what kind of what funds need to be moved around. And so you could do that time series forecasting that I was talking about earlier, based off of your GraphQL API, instead of having to go and like look at your Bank of America account for your freelancing stuff and your Silicon Valley account for your side project. We could pipe all that data into one data store, and then you can do whatever kind of manipulation you would want to on it. One being, what's my runway? Right.
And you guys are, like, if I want to calculate my runway, do I need to figure out the equations to calculate that? Or do you guys have like sort of preset API endpoints that I could hit that's like, this is our runway?
So we would give you like a preset function, or like a little mini app that you could take that action on. But with the GraphQL API, we don't really have like those traditional REST endpoints. So it's not like a matter of like extending an API for, accounts / runway. It's just a big giant data shape that you can pick what pieces you want to off that data shape, and then use it to query or run different functions like run.
Got it. Cool.
And we can build like templates,
Yeah. So I guess thinking about this, like the most compelling part of it is like the interface. It's a pretty novel interface. I'm a developer. I spend a lot of time on my terminal. Like, it'd be great if I could just like fire off commands and get back financial data, or even like send it. It would just be fun to play with. What you've named like one or two use cases, like, figure out my runway, I guess, do various like sort of financial calculations and talk to multiple bank accounts at the same time. Do you have any sort of plan for, like, I guess let me ask you, like, what are your goals? Number one, like, why build this? And number two, like, what challenges are you running into? Like, what do you want to know from me?
Sure. So as far as goals, like me personally, and also like Travis, who I'm working with on it, like our thought was having to go to a bank or even going to a banking app and setting up, like, I just want to move this money from my checking account to my savings account. Doing it manually is obviously like the worst, but then doing it programmatically, maybe through like a random app, is a little bit better, but we would want even more control. So my personal goal is just to have an app that I can programmatically send a certain amount of money over to a savings account, but based on certain parameters. Like if I don't have enough money in my checking account, or if it's below a certain threshold, I don't want to go to the savings account. So I want like a lot of toggles and dials that I can use to do this, like programmatic banking. That's personal goal. The goal for Hannah would be, we just have this OKR, quote unquote, for two people that we put together, is like have maybe a community of 100 people, either in Slack or Spectrum or some sort of community of people talking about finance and how to work with Hannah.
Cool. All right. And I was asking you about your personal goal. It wasn't so much, what do you want to be able to do with your app, but like, what do you want to be able to accomplish by building this? Are you trying to build a unicorn company eventually that takes over the world? Are you trying to quit your job and build a company that can sustain your lifestyle? Is it just a fun side project for you?
It's a fun side project, but if we could, I think our goal is to like quit our jobs and do this full time.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really good to have the goal in mind because it informs a lot of the decisions that you'll be making. All right, so what are your biggest challenges? You said you want to have 100 people in a room who are enthusiastic about this, working together. Any ideas on how to get those 100 people?
Right. So it's a different type of product than I've built before. I've had some success with like just traditional products in the past. So with this community first approach, we're looking at like content as our main vehicle, but then we've started off with open source projects. So behind the scenes, behind Hannah, we have a like an event sourcing framework, and we just put that out for free on NPM. So we did that like last week. So we think open source projects are, for this user type, is a good type of content. But essentially what I want to know is like, what's like the most counterintuitive thing when it comes to community building that like a lot of people don't get?
Yeah.
Or is it all obvious?
What can I say about that? It's really hard for me to know that because I've just been doing it for so long and reading a lot about it, and like failing and succeeding at various things, that it's just all blur to me at this point. Like I don't know I'm not beginner enough nor good enough to know what is obvious and what is not. I will say like some things that I found helpful. Number one, like community building is it's a pretty well-trodden path. Like there are books out there that people have written that are very good about how to build a community, how to figure out what stage of the community you're at, what activities you should be doing and why at various phases of the community. And so don't think that you necessarily have to learn by example by looking at like some random assortment of communities you can find online. Like I would definitely go to those books, those people. Number two, there are communities of people who build communities that can help you. So that's sort of like the more qualitative, like talk to people and get active feedback on what you're doing. I think the way that you guys are starting with content makes a lot of sense. It's how I started Indie Hackers. Communities are pretty time consuming. Like if you build a successful community and you want to maintain it, that is a product in and of itself. And it has to be something that you really want. Like I wouldn't do it only as a means to an end. Like, okay, we're going to build a community just to get our first users. And then like, that's it, we're done. Like ideally it'll be something that you want to foster and talk to people about consistently over time, and definitely. Sure. And the other thing I'll say is like, you can't really build a community around everything. Like generally speaking, a community consists of people either basically engaging in some sort of activity together. And depending on what that activity is, like if it's not something that people like, let's say you want people to be talking, like you want to have a Slack community of people sharing ideas, et cetera. like for that to have like sort of an ever-present conversation-based community, you need something that people basically are thinking about and like talking about consistently all day, or at least like frequently enough to come back regularly. So for something like Indie Hackers, we're talking about businesses. Businesses are very difficult. There's always problems and challenges with your businesses. You can always come back. But I've seen people try to start communities around things that are like problems that people only have like once or twice. And, if I think about my own, and this is, I think about your product as well, like there will probably be certain use cases for your product that are things that you want to check very frequently. And there are probably some use cases that like most people just don't do that often. Like I transferred money from one of my bank accounts to another like 2 days ago. I do that like twice a year.
Yeah.
I do a lot of stuff around tax season, but in general, like I'm not really that excited to talk about finances or check my finances all that often. So like, but there are probably some use cases where it's like really like a frequent thing. And I think that's like a good thing to get the community conversation built around. So I would publish content that's sort of around what that is. And maybe you don't know what that is. Maybe you need to talk to your people in your community and figure that out. And then the last thing I'll say is, and it kind of echoes what I just said, you're building a product and you have a very specific idea of what the product is going to do, but like generally it's better if like that flows from like what problem it's going to solve first. And obviously that you can't really know until you built it and you tried. But like if you're going to build a community and like that's sort of what you're working on right now, then what I would do is like maybe not put the product on hold, but like spend a lot of time talking to people and figuring out what that use case is and why they would use it and what they're doing, because it might not be obvious that like the product you're building is right for the type of community that you're building. If you're trying to do them both at the same time, like it's going to be a little bit hard for one to inform the other, if that makes sense. And so like and this is just my approach, like I would probably spend more time on the community side of things. Like with Indie Hackers, I was just like all about content for like a couple months, maybe like 3 or 4 months. And then after the community got legs off the back of the content, like I shifted my focus over to the community. I was doing like early stage community activities. And I think the community that I built was completely shaped by the content that I was writing. And like if I were to eventually have launched a product for that community, it would have been completely shaped by the community. I know a lot of people who built audiences and crafted email lists of like 10,000 people, and then eventually they built something that nobody in their email list wanted because there was sort of a disconnect there. And like you don't want to like, it's pointless to build an audience if they're not like perfectly in line with what you end up trying to sell. And so you need to make sure your product is informed by like what they're actually enthusiastic about.
Yeah, I think with the like content first, and then based on the interactions around that content, building a community. Like I think of like Ryan Hoover, obviously with Product Hunt. I feel like the team Holloway is doing that right now. Like they might be right on the cusp of making that transition from content to community. But you actually said like something that's really interesting where you said, I don't really do that very much, like moving money from account A to account B. Yeah. And one thing I do is something called profit first. So like it's essentially probably overly convoluted, but it's like the envelope system. So you have like a bucket for taxes, a bucket for profit, a bucket for operations. Nice. And so that need to move money from one giant account into all these separate accounts is like a twice a month activity for me. And the fact that you don't do it kind of highlights the fact that either like our vision is to like pigeonhole, or B, we need to like tell more people about stuff like profit first, But either way.
I think the second thing you said makes a lot of sense. Like when I see a lot of communities around finances and bank accounts, it's usually people who are like very budget oriented. They have like systems they really like, in the same way that they're like productivity nerds. Like I'm kind of a productivity nerd. Like I love reading about task managers and different GTD systems, et cetera. Like there are people who are the same, like where you might have like, I don't know, you said bucket first or profit first. There is, what's this guy's name? Like Mr. Money Mustache. Like he's got his whole community around like, how do you basically retire early and save money? And then there's like, you need a budget. It's like a whole app based on like, how do you budget effectively and basically like be financially responsible. And like, there are communities around these things because budgeting is like a frequently, like every single day, how much did I budget? Like, how much did I spend? Am I on track? What can I do for my finances, et cetera? So like, I would probably err on the side of like, like just like you said, writing content about like systems and techniques and tricks that are like aligned with these like very frequent behaviors, and maybe target people who are like, for you, I guess like it's like two groups, like programmers, like developers, and people who are like super productivity nerds around finance. And that's a small niche, but like if you're going for a community of 100 people, that's great. But also, like, if you're gonna target a super small niche, you need something that's like super valuable and you can charge enough per customer to actually sustain your lifestyle, which is a little tricky if like your customers are people who are budget oriented and they're like, how do I save money? And you're like, buy my tool for $300 a month. Like, probably not.
Yeah.
But like, there are other people who are like obsessed with finance in terms of like making money. It's like, you're a day trader, right? How much more money can I make? Or you're an investor of some sort. So I would just try to find like the people who are like have some intersection of like have a lot of money to spend and are looking for ways to make more money, frequently act, and in your case, if you're like really dead set on building a CLI tool, are developers. And I don't necessarily know if you want to be dead set on what kind of tool you want to buy. I would probably I would probably find the audience and the problem first, and then tailor my tool specifically to whatever their need is.
Awesome. Cool. No, it all makes sense. And you like brought up a bunch of good points, but specifically the one of like, yeah, what you're trying to solve, I only do that like once a year. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's such an important, I know it's such a small thing that you said, but it's a good point. Cool.
All right, Brian, thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
All right, I'm gonna bring on Andrew and Grace, who I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys are like a husband and wife team, maybe? Oh wow, we got a baby on the call. This is a first. Okay, I can't hear you, Andrew. And Grace, I can't see you. Oh, there you go. So I can't hear either one of you, but I can see both of you. Oh, you're muted. Let me unmute you.
Unmute?
There you go.
Okay.
All right. Grace, you are muted. Let me unmute you.
Oh, there we go.
Hi.
Hi, Grace. How's it going?
Good.
All right. Andrew's got a bit of an echo.
Is this better?
Yeah. So I saw you guys at did I see you guys at YC Poker the other night?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll tell you about your tell. You have a tell, dude. And so I didn't want to tell you at the night because trip you up and
All right, I'm gonna get some poker advice here. What's my tell?
But yeah, just a little bit about ourselves. We're Andrew and Grace. We're trying to currently apply for YC. We got invited for an interview on May 1st. It's for the idea of Valet Scoot. Valet Scoot is a service where commuters that come from SF or are coming up to SF can drop off their cars at choke points in the city. Our first proposed site is 8 Octavia, which is on Octavia Market. And essentially what we do is we extract these car commuters from their cars. They can valet their car at our location, and we'll give them a scooter to complete their last miles of their journey to the office. And so essentially why we're doing this is because we just had a kid. We live literally right next to the freeway. And there's a ton of congestion. There's about 47,000 cars that come daily to the city, and that's a lot of pollution. And so studies show that people that babies that live in the city have more chances of getting asthma than people who live in the suburbs. So this is something that we're totally scratching our own itch, and I'm sure there's other parents out there who are also supportive of this idea. Plus, it's a win for San Francisco, because we're getting less cars into the city. We're literally extracting people from their cars into scooters, which is a more friendlier means of transport in the city, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But so that's the gist of it. I mean, there's a lot of other things behind it and how we monetize and all that stuff, but I'm happy to go through like a mock interview. Actually, even though I am a former YC founder, I actually never went through a interview. I just
really.
So that's another story, but it was a hack.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I went through YC a long time ago. I did go through an interview. The interviews are all over the place.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if there isn't like any like exact set of questions, at least back from when I did it, that like everyone gets asked these same questions. But the idea is that, I mean, the whole VC spiel, right? Like they want something that can be huge, right? $1 billion, world changing, like huge return on their investment. They'd rather like invest in something risky that has potential to be huge than something that's like a sure thing that's going to be pretty small. And so what you're saying sounds like very sensible to me. You're going to help these cars, help these commuters basically park and travel the last mile on a scooter. Do you have any other form of transportation, or is it like 100% you have to ride a scooter?
It doesn't have to be a scooter. I mean, they can hop on. There's a hub. There's the Civic Center stop near BART right there. they can take whatever. We just offered them a scooter and a helmet for safety reasons. But they can even bring their own scooter. We don't really care. What's more interesting is the car that we get. We know for at least 8 hours that car is unoccupied. We can monetize on that. We could use it as a ride-sharing platform for deliveries. We could also park it in the grocery store, which is 0.4 miles away. And Safeway or Whole Foods employees could just load groceries right into their trunk in a cooler.
Okay, so they're giving you the keys to their car. They're driving their car in, and you guys have their car. You can use it whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's obviously we're given the authorization to do so. Just so they can make money off of it as well, right? So.
Right. And how much are they paying you? Like, is it free for them because you're using their car?
So I mean, I'm just throwing out numbers right now, but if they want to use our valet service, it's $19. So that's competitive with, like, you know, if you park somewhere in Stone, it's like $30, $40 a day. So $19 for the valet and then $9 for the scooter. If you want to rent out your car and we can use it for other services to generate income on your behalf, we'll give you $40 for the day. So you can, and then essentially park for free since we're using your car. That's my thinking. And then on top of that, we created a marketplace where essentially if there's any car services that are needed, or say you want to buy groceries at Safeway, you can do all that ordering and all that services through our platform. We collect the transaction fee.
Okay. And how does this get big? Like, you spread to a ton of cities?
Yeah, and so that's one thing. Like the site that we currently want to start with is vacant. And so it's an interesting opportunity just to go in and test out different experience. But in order to scale, I think a franchise model makes sense, where essentially we lease the scooters to them, or whatever means of transport that's appropriate for their city with the branding. They get to use our brand. We give them their software as a SaaS tool, and then on top of that, the marketplace, right? They all have to do transactions through there, and then what we do is we approach just businesses that already exist near freeways to essentially say, hey, do you want to have an add value service where we're literally giving you foot traffic? And so maybe these cars who generally just drive by.
I'm sorry, I accidentally unmuted you.
Drive by the freeway on their way to work. We literally give them, like, it's like a virtual toll booth that we can just say, hey, right here, you can stop here. You don't have to go further into the city.
Okay. And then the last question here, like, why you guys? It sounds like you haven't really started this, right? You haven't bought this.
Yeah, it's a 100% idea. And so for me, I've created marketplaces before, or helped create marketplaces. The biggest successful one so far has been Mashdrop, which is a community commerce site. I was employee number 6 there. I also worked at Indiegogo as a quasi entrepreneur in residence. And then Grace can tell you more about her background.
I mean, I've done a lot of different things. I came out to San Francisco originally. I bought my home, and the place that we're kind of going after is right next to the sort of commercial spot that has been undeveloped for the entire time that we've been here. So maybe like 5 or 6 years. And so, I mean, as far as, I just think small and, worth a shot.
Okay, cool. So this is a tough one. This is a tough one because it's like,
it's an idea.
Yeah, it's an idea.
We cooked this up in like 2 days, 3 days, to be completely honest. Because the reason this idea in the first place was because that lot has been empty for 5 years now, since the construction of the building. So it creates a lot of different other side effects that are not so good. Like, there's a lot of panhandlers. They're
right.
going to art. It's just not. It's kind of not cool. So what do we do to turn this blight into something that enriches the community? So that's so we're like, how, what's the one thing that they have that that is a disadvantage, but maybe we can turn into an advantage? Is just car throughput. And so if we can extract those people, however means possible, Valet was excited.
Yeah, I mean, I get the inefficiencies that you guys are sort of helping to solve. Like, there are these very specific problems that are real, right? Like, this vacant space is not good. Like, the pollution in cities is something that needs to be reversed. People who are driving their cars to the cities could use better, cheaper options. There are ride sharing companies that could, could use the cars or delivery. Like, there's a lot of inefficiencies that you guys are solving.
Yeah.
But like the question, there's so many question marks with this.
Yeah.
And it's not something that like, it doesn't seem like something that you can like very easily and cheaply. I guess my recommendation would be like, try to find a way to very easily and cheaply test this.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like investing in like owning, like how expensive is it to get this lot?
So I think we haven't put in it, we're negotiating right now, but it's $4 a square foot. So it's like under market.
But it's like right where the highway dumps into Market Street, if you're familiar with San Francisco at all.
Yep. I'm
Also,
right under the Bay Bridge.
We're trying to negotiate like a pop-up lease right now. So maybe 3 to 6 months possible.
But how much do you think it's going to cost? Like,
so max probably 7,000, but we can probably a month, but we can probably, negotiate.
It should not cost $7,000.
Yeah.
okay. And how many cars can park there?
So that's the thing. It's perfect. You can queue up probably at least like 5-10 cars at a time, because there's like a side street literally right there. And so, and then as long as we have attendants that can then drive those cars off to a secure lot, then we can just keep that going. So the math is like, if there's 46,000 cars, if we take 1% of that, that's 460 cars. If we charge $28, it's like $13,000 a day, just in parking and scooter rental fees.
Okay. I mean, I think the things that I like about this business are that you guys are targeting a market that's like pretty straightforward in terms of the fact that like people already park in the city. You're not solving some sort of totally unique problem that no one has ever even proven people want to do. Like, people pay for parking. If you offer a place to park in a crowded location and you offer competitive pricing, like, people will probably buy it.
Yeah.
The bigger question marks are, like, can you actually, like, the other half of your marketplace, and these people are going to take the cars and do useful things with them. Like the risks, like, okay, if your unit economics are going to be affected by like the occasional car crash or theft or damage.
That's not funny.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's kind of funny. But it's like, I don't know how you even factor that in, and that's something that I would like to see, like, numbers around that.
So I used to be an economic consultant, and so part of that was risk analysis, and so I can definitely calculate those kind of trade-offs.
Yeah.
But that's what insurance is for. It's like insurance policies are maybe $1,000 a month for like $1 million general coverage kind of license. So it's not as expensive. Then in terms of CapEx, we don't really have anything other than we don't even have CapEx because we can actually like rent the scooters from like a Bird platform where they'll provide you the fleet, the software and all that stuff as a lease. And you can lease it out, getting a 20%. The scooter
part of it is like the part that I like maybe least excited about.
Yeah.
It seems like an add-on, right? Like, you could theoretically just do this, which just like get people to park cars, then use their cars for other things during the day.
Yeah.
Like, that in and of itself is already like a pretty ambitious idea. That's like a lot to focus on.
Sure.
Like, the additional step of like, now you need to also get into the scooter business and rent these scooters to other people seems like an unnecessary challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps maybe you could like partner up with the city or the scooter companies and like have them have like a scooter dock nearby or something where it's like it's convenient, but I wouldn't make that like a core part of your pitch or business right now, because it's not, to my mind, it's not the thing that's going to make you big. Like, but I would figure out more like the unit economics of like how you can make money despite the risks, like having some sort of model for identifying these like lots that you could have, or these drop-off points, and how you can acquire them like cheaply. You might have found like something that's very convenient here, but like how many more of these places are you going to find? How much like traffic flow can you actually handle in any given city? Like, how does it spread and become something really big? So if you're going to apply to YC, like, I want to know that you've like done that math, and like you don't want to hit like some sort of predictable dead end where it's like, oh, it turns out property in SF is really freaking expensive, as it is in every other big city, and if you want to buy like the infrastructure for people to park, you're not going to be able to do that profitably forever. So I would work on those numbers and have like a really compelling pitch around those kinds of things. I know this is not really a YC interview. This is like more me like riffing off of what's going on. But yeah, there's like the questions in my mind, and I think this.
No, those are great questions. Yeah.
The scooter aspect of it just doesn't seem to fit.
Is it just sounds like because the real money is like we're creating like a virtual like we're creating a physical shopping cart and using it as your car is your physical shopping cart to the city. So like the big marketing push is like, you're buying local now. You've got outside money from other places in the city coming into the city, and they're buying stuff, and we're just picking it up for you at these local stores. Like if we treat it as an e-commerce problem, but it's a physical e-commerce problem where all your vendors are addresses in the city, then maybe there's some crunch those numbers. And that, I mean, that's where the growth is, where commerce is in your car.
Yep. The other thing I would say is like, how long until your YC interview?
May 1st. So we've got a little time.
Test this.
Yeah.
Like, get someone, like, I don't know, get someone to like drive a car to your apartment every day.
Yeah.
Try to sell. I mean, like, do the minimum viable product here. Like, get 10 people to agree to this, and like find 10 Uber drivers who are going to come pick up the cars every day.
Yeah, for sure.
Do something. Like, I mean, I don't know like the legal implications of doing. I don't know like what
do it for free, right? Just like, kind of, we can even do it for free. Like I'll literally say free parking. You know, put up a sign. I'll do it.
Well, no, I would try. Like, I mean, like, because I want to see like, are people going to be willing to pay you money for this, or like, will they be willing to like, you know, whatever cost you would eventually charge them? Like, is that valuable to them? Free parking for sure is valuable, and if you think you can actually offer that with your full service, like when it's subsidized by Uber drivers or whoever is going to be delivery drivers, whoever's going to be using it, then like that's fine. But like I would test the most realistic version, but at a small scale as you possibly can. And at the very least, you can go into the interview saying like, turns out that like this question mark you have, are people going to like be willing to rent out their cars? We found 10 strangers who said yes.
Yeah.
It takes only a week to do that, right?
Yeah, there is that kind of rent. It does exist outside in other parts of the world. I've learned where literally people will park their cars in the city limits, and then someone will be there just to pick it up and use it for various services. So it is a thing that happens. I even think there's some company based in Los Angeles that does it well. I forget, the name escapes me, but I think their issue is that it's something where it's a game of like, where's the customer and where's the buyer, by centralizing it in a location that makes it where there is a flow of traffic that can be converted into cars is the thing that I think that maybe is the difference that might make a difference between.
I lost you.
Okay,
there we go, you're back.
The differences.
Okay. All right. Well, that's my feedback. Hopefully it's helpful.
Yeah, dude.
I think it's definitely an original idea. I would just say, just like pare down the scope, get as much like done as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And try to cross off some of those initial objections, make this seem promising. I mean, it could be ambitious too, but like put together like the part of your pitch that shows how this could be big. Like show me like the numbers, like how many people in the other cities and like how much is it going to cost you?
Yeah.
Like, the margins for this aren't going to be, it's not software, you know, it's not.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Anyway, thanks a ton for coming up. I'm going to invite H. Cavalieri up. Bring your baby to the interview. I think that'll help. Nice, find you.
Hey.
All right. H. Cavalieri. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
You're up.
Can you hear my voice?
I can hear you. How's it going?
Yeah. Good. So my name is Henrique, and you're probably not going to be able to pronounce it, but Courtland, thanks a ton for your time. It's a very cool initiative. In fact, I subscribed right after I subscribed into Indie Hackers because I got to know you, and I was like, this guy is awesome, and you had just tweeted this, so it feels like it feels very lucky. So I realized that 10 minutes is not enough, not a lot. So let's go straight to the point. I'm a web designer, and I work with very modern technologies for front-end development. And I realize how powerful they are, like the Jamstack, PWAs, AMP, etc. But they're kind of hard to get into, and there's not such a strong community around it. And tooling is still in its infancy, right? So you have some good hosting services, etc., but that's it. And that's a market we are working with. And in fact, let me open the chat. We are just launching the first version of our idea, which is the community .dev. I just sent in the chat. You should probably do HPS.
Yeah.
Um,
You can share your screen too if you want to like demo it.
Well, yeah, you can open it. It's just,
Okay,
it's very simple. It's V01. We just had the idea like a month ago. We validated with people around the world, and now we need to understand how we're going to build this community. So the idea for this first product is just a directory of external resources that are recommended by actual real people. So right now it's mainly me, and there is one or other influencers like you that I got some tweets. But yeah, so straight to the point. You were talking with Brian, like how building a community is a product in and of itself. So It made me think that maybe our long-term goal of building tooling around it, and very ambitious tooling, that might be very hard. So I changed my first question, which is now, how can we strive without producing content directly? Do you think that is an option? Because Indie Hackers is very based on the podcasts, on the interviews, but yeah.
Yes. Okay. So a lot of things to say that. Looking at your website now, it's cool. First thing I want to talk about is you said that your long-term goal is to build tooling, et cetera. What is it? To help developers, to help front-end web developers?
Basically, yeah.
And you said that would be hard because the community is like a product in and of itself. So number one, I agree with you. It's going to be hard. I don't think that means it's impossible or it's not doable. In fact, I think that's a given. I think all startups are hard. I think that if it is your long-term plan to do that, like that's totally fine. Like most businesses that end up getting really big or successful, like what they look like in their very early days is not the way they look in the long term. They start off very differently. Even Indie Hackers today looks very different than it looked when I first launched it. When I first launched it, there was no community forum, there was no podcast, right? It's expanded over time. And these early steps make it easier to take subsequent steps. And so like, yeah, it can become a time in the future where you actually are building tools for your community. And I think it would only be like untenably hard if you decide to do that at the same time, like in the beginning. If you're gonna build a community right now and produce content for your community, you should focus on that. And then later on, if you have a thriving, healthy, growing community, and you know what they want, you probably have more time, more systems in place to automate things, maybe a community manager to help you run things, and you can build it tooling. So I wouldn't say like you should scratch that from your long-term plan. I'd say more like probably don't put that in your short-term plan. Cool. The other thing you asked was, how can you sort of generate content without doing it yourself? Is that your question?
Well, that too, yes.
Yeah.
But engagement and like people actually doing that. And I don't mean that in terms of being lazy, but just maximizing reach and actually involving people, because we have a very open source mindset. So
right. Yes. Okay, cool. So at Indie Hackers, like I don't produce very much content myself. In fact, I think that's like kind of the only reason that we're able to produce so much at Indie Hackers, because we have a very small team. It's because I'm not really doing that much. And in fact, the things that I am doing are things that heavily rely on other people to contribute. So like our interviews on the website, like we ask everybody the same questions. We have a template, we send you an email. It's not me sitting down every day for hours trying to think of like, what am I going to thought lead about next? Because I would run out of ideas, right? Even on the podcast, I'm asking interview questions. It's not really me sharing my own thoughts and ideas, because it'll get very boring very quickly. And like that is a full-time job, just producing content. So I think it's smart to sort of leverage your community and other people to produce content for you, but it's not easy to do because you have to give them basically a reason to do it, or you're going to spend all your time like doing what you've done now. Like I'm looking at your website and it's like you've sort of curated tweets and links, et cetera, from other people online. But no one's really writing original content for you, right? And so like these things are probably popular elsewhere, but like your sort of value now is only as an aggregator, which can work. Right. You can aggregate content from other places and put it in one place and make it useful. In fact, like I think that's how a lot of sites get started. But usually, like you want to add some value to like you've got your own spin on it. You've got people creating content for you that it is there first. And so, like my advice for you right now is like first, like focus. Like what is the goal that you're trying to help your readers accomplish? Because if you just get like a lot of like semi-related content in one place, that doesn't necessarily make it valuable. But if instead you get like content that basically helps people accomplish a goal and you put it in one place and you make it really good and it is better than the way that they are accomplishing that goal today. So the example I always just like to use is nomad list. Like if you were a digital nomad 5 years ago and you wanted to know what city you wanted to travel to, that was a very painstaking process of researching and hitting up dozens of different websites, asking around in forums. It could take you months to make a decision. Whereas today, if you're a digital nomad and you want to basically figure out where to go, you go to nomadlist.com, and there's a beautiful grid of different cities and exactly how fast their internet is and how safe they are and how expensive they are, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's very easy. Like, in other words, it's a content site, but he's sort of like, the problem he solved is like this research phase of trying to figure out where to go. And he's made it like 10 times simpler. Right? Indie Hackers is kind of similar in the early days. Like, how do you start an online company and basically be profitable as like a solo developer without these grand startup ambitions? Very difficult to read about that in the early days unless you know exactly where to go. And even then you wouldn't get very good information. And so Indie Hackers is an attempt to sort of put it in one place and make sure that you got like revenue numbers and how they come up with the idea and the marketing plan, et cetera. Like, that was the value. So you should think about, okay, what is the goal I'm trying to solve with community? And maybe you'll want like a more distinctive name while you're at it, because your name is going to be pretty hard to build a brand around. Just the word community is like, it's kind of taken.
Yeah.
But like, what goal are you trying to solve? Like, who are you solving this goal for? Like, what are they trying to do? And you should let that inform your decision of like what content you create and what product you build.
Cool.
Like, I would never have asked, like, the only reason I even asked people for revenue numbers with their Indie Hackers interviews is because like I could read and talk to people and figure out what they wanted to know in these stories. And then like I had a checklist, like every interview I do has to have these 5 or 10 points in it. If I just like sort of randomly, without knowing who my customer was or what their problem was, created interviews, like I probably would have been asking the wrong questions, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess my question to you is like, who do you see in like the web developer community using this? Like early stage developers who are learning, advanced developers, and why would they read what you have to put out?
Cool. So during our usage tests, we also ran another idea, which was the learning paths. And it's much more, it's much closer than what you said, like accomplish a specific goal. So if you want to get started with GraphQL, then take this learning path and go step by step.
Right.
And, you know, collaboratively doing so and with a focus on this more modern web. Mm-hmm. And that specific thing was much more validated. People were more interested.
Yeah.
And both beginners and advanced developers, because advanced developers wanted to get deep into a specific topic or to refresh themselves. And beginners, of course, it's less overwhelming. But the problem we had with that was the process of creating the content is going to require much more expertise than I currently have. And my partner, he's a designer, so like,
right.
You know,
yeah.
So we figured, so let's start with this aggregator that has a twist. It has people behind it saying why this content is important. And then we'll spin off the learning paths. What do you think of this strategy? Does it make sense?
I understand the problem that you ran into. I think you could probably solve that problem. I think there are probably things you could do to push through that problem that you had. I think the approach that you're taking now, like, also maybe it could work, but like right now, like looking at your homepage, like I'm not seeing like, I don't know. I guess with every problem, like every business, like you have like what are like internal problems and you have like external problems that customers have. Like internal problems are like, oh man, we have this challenge. Like, how do we fix it? But like those problems are invisible to your customers. Like they don't really care and they can't see. Like they don't know that like how much expertise you have. They don't know like how you're going to try to account for your lack of expertise in a specific goal. Like they just don't know. It's invisible to them and they don't care. Like all they care about are their problems. And their problem is like, is this the best resource for me to learn? Is this the best resource for me to connect with people and to connect to you, et cetera, et cetera.
Nice.
And I think like this pivot that you made is made to solve like an internal problem, right? You're like, oh man, how do we do this thing? And you created a product that like theoretically, if it worked, has solved that problem. Like, oh, now we no longer have to create the content. Like we're aggregators. But you haven't solved an external problem. Like you haven't solved a customer facing issue. And so, yeah, now you no longer need expertise yourself, but like your customers still like don't, like you've sort of lost the reason that they come here because now there isn't like a specific, like I'm coming here to learn. If you had like, I think you could do that. Like if you were aggregating in maybe a more prescriptive way, like for example, like I'm on your website right now and it's just like, it just seems like a very big grid of just like a bunch of headlines and I'm not sure why I would click any particular one. But if you like literally aggregated like the path of becoming a front-end developer, or the path of learning React, or the path of learning to build progressive web apps, and like you curated like the best articles in the right order for exactly how to do this,
Mhm.
and like I think you be much better, because like now, okay, like my goal as a reader is I want to learn. I don't necessarily know how to learn, and like you've helped me do that without having to write anything. So it kind of kills two birds with one stone. But yeah, I would be like very like customer first. Like, why is somebody going to come to this over going to any of the other courses online or ways to learn how to code? Like, you need like some sort of edge,
Yeah.
or at the very least equivalent value.
Right. Yeah, makes perfect sense. We're gonna think a lot about that, and I think right now we can launch and just get some feedback and to do this customer development and focus more on what they're doing. What you said
Yep.
is totally right. And thank you for your time. I don't want to get any more because, yes, I've already surpassed 10 minutes by far. But yeah, Courtland, thanks a lot. Indie Hackers is awesome. And the more and more I dive into it, the happier I am with this decision of creating a product. And you're just, thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks for making this. I mean, it's honestly, it's pretty cool. The design is really good, and I'm excited to see how it evolves. So like, ping me on the Indie Hackers forum, like tag at CS Allen the next time
All right.
you
All right, cool.
release a big update. Let me know, I guess.
Will do. Have a good one, man.
All right. You
Thanks
too.
a lot.
Yeah. All right. So we are up to, I think, our last guest. Oh, no, two more. Mihir and Vulcan. So Mihir, I'm going to promote you to a panelist so you'll be able to talk. And once you get in here, just like turn on your camera, unmute yourself, and let me know what you're up to. And Vulcan, you'll be next in another 15 minutes or so. All right.
How's it going, Courtland?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. You can hear me, right? That's good.
Yeah, pretty perfect.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate your time. This is really cool. Just spending your Saturday afternoon with the community.
Yeah, it's fun.
So I have a few questions, but I think those questions were addressed with the rest of the group about building community. The product is Wise Charlie. I've heard you talk about mental models several times in your podcast. Also bring Charlie Munger's Almanac of Charlie Munger. And that book inspired me. Oh, you're about to bring that book? That's awesome.
Yeah, I got to grab it. I love it.
Yep, I love that book.
Haha. Everybody should buy this. If you haven't read it, you should buy it. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's
huge.
one of the best.
It's probably like the least convenient book to put on your bookshelf of all time. Like, I don't know why they made it this shape. It's ridiculous, but
it is. Yeah, it is heavy. It's also cognitively demanding. It's Charlie Munger doesn't speak or talk in words that you would just be able to grasp real fast. You can't skim through the book. That's what I'm trying to get to. So yeah, I was inspired by the book. But have you? I work at Morningstar, and I've heard many people just ask these wonderful questions, and then you just sit there and realize, like, how the heck did that person just come up with that question? And you're just wondering in awe. And I believe I've just come to that conclusion that a lot of the discovery work that happens around whatever you're trying to do research on, it's not around the research topic, but it's just like trying to come up with great questions. And Munger's mental models has definitely helped me doing that. I wish that was available to a lot of younger adults and young kids. Can you imagine just having them understand compounding at the age of 16 and the wonders that would do to them? So that led me to like building a deck of cards, about 100 mental models that were inspired by his book, and a few others that I thought were important for these kids to understand. And over the year, I've been just working on building the product, and I've gone few people buy the product. Actually, I have no idea who these people are, so I should dig deeper who the actual customer base is. But I like to focus the customer base just around young adults, just because I really care to help them. The goal for this business product is not take this to $1 billion startup, not go anywhere, but just like be in the process and just have fun with it, because I'm learning a lot from it by teaching others. And really getting better at what I do for my day job. So with that being said, I am working on building the content for the product. So the product in itself, the 100 cards are up for sale. People can buy, but I've also open sourced all 100 mental models on GitHub. If people are interested, and if you don't want to spend $25, go ahead and you can just download them for yourself. And also been writing Medium blog articles around each mental model and how each mental model is applicable to this age group. How can you use a mental model to get into college? How can you use a mental model to get a job? How can you maximize your time? Stuff like that. Important questions that matter at that age. So that's how I am working on building a community. I would value if you have any feedback. And the follow-up question is, what did you do in terms of monitoring your feedback loop when you were building your community? Were there any KPIs that you were monitoring? Or did you have some sort of a feedback loop that you were keeping your eye on? And that's what I'm trying to get to. Just because I know like there's no end goal for this, just having fun with the process, but I also need to be mindful of, are there any results being produced from working on this?
Yes. I don't know if you need like necessarily some end goal. Like, I don't know if most businesses don't have an end goal. Like you should definitely have like some milestones you're trying to hit or something you're trying to accomplish in like the shorter term or midterm. You talk about building a community, and from what you're describing, it sounds like you're doing a lot of like content creation, a lot of outreach. Where does your community live? Like, who are like, do you consider somebody a part of your community if they buy your cards or read your article, or is there like a place where they can actually interact with each other?
I'm building community through, so there is no interaction yet, and I have not even thought about it. But the way I'm building the community is actually just MailChimp emails. That's where I share with people what I'm working on, what's the next mental model that I'm about to write on, work on, and once that's produced, then that's where I share with the community.
Okay. So this might seem like just like pure semantics, but like I would say if you have like a one-to-many communication going on, what you're building is an audience, right? You're building a group of people who are listening to what you're saying and what you're sharing. And I think a community is more of like a many-to-many type interaction where everybody's talking to each other. And the reason why it's important to have a distinction is because there's very different strategies for growing both. And if you like look for how to build a community, but what you're really building is an audience, then you're going to get probably the wrong advice and you're going to look in the wrong places. So first thing I would say is like, make sure you know what it is that you're trying to build. And both like with Indie Hackers, the first thing I built was an audience. Like I was doing these interviews and I was broadcasting them to as many people as I possibly could so that I could grow my subscriber list. So I could build, basically this captive audience that I could reach with whatever cool stuff I thought I was doing or other people were doing. And then eventually I used that audience to grow a community. But there's a point where like the Indie Hackers mailing list was like 6,000 or 7,000 people and the Indie Hackers community was like 6 or 7 people. And there's a lot of overlap. Obviously, like the community came from the mailing list, but like not everybody who's part of the audience wants to necessarily interact with other people. Like they're just happy reading and they don't necessarily want to talk to other people or learn from other people. They just want to learn from you, like what your take is. So I guess my first question for you is like, what do you care more about? Like, do you care more about building an audience for its own sake, or is the audience only just like a means to an end to build a community?
I think it's the latter, which is the means to build a community.
Okay, cool. So I think audience building is like the best way to build a community. I think it's very hard to build a community from scratch. You have basically 2 ways to do it, I think. There's more than 2, but like the ones that I would favor are like build your own audience through content, which is what you're doing right now. You're growing your mailing list, you're writing, you're helping people. They like what you have to say, they subscribe, they want to read more from you. I would optimize there, like on number 1, finding what resonates. Like you can experiment a ton. There's so much you can do. So like you've got the playing cards, you've got blog posts on Medium, you could go on people's podcasts, you could do in-person events. There's like so many different ways to get people in your community and say different things. I think this is a great time before you've sort of built this community of people to see what resonates. And like you were saying, like I thought it was great that you had all these different examples of how people can use mental models and like apply them to specific situations. Like it might turn out that there's like one niche that turns out to be like really valuable for you. Like honestly, the people who are young and applying to colleges, like maybe that's like some special time in their life where they're actually more receptive to what you're saying than any other time, and will put those tips into practice. And maybe that's the best way. Or maybe like early on, like there's like for very precocious, middle schoolers who just like are ahead of the game. They're already thinking about that, and like they take it the most seriously, and that resonates with them. I would think a lot about like just experimenting to find what works, and also like subscription. Like figure out a way to be able to like repeatedly reach these people. Medium is okay, but like the problem with Medium is that like you don't own your subscribers. I think the gold standard is a mailing list. Get somebody on your email list, and it sounds like you're already doing that. That's great. You can email your mailing list however often you want to. You can send them whatever you want, and 100% of your emails will ideally get to your subscribers' inboxes, and you control that forever. Yep. The other way to build a community is basically to think about distribution channels, not a community, an audience, which is basically like look at an audience that somebody else has built and tap into that. So with me, that was Hacker News. A lot of people who wanted to do what indie hackers wanted to do were on Hacker News. They'd already sort of built a community and an audience around that. And all I needed to do was get in front of them with my content, and like they would sort of shift over. For you, that might be the same way. Like, are there other people who are doing a good job basically getting in front of like the audience that you're trying to tackle, like very talented, forward-thinking, ambitious young people? Or maybe you're talented people, like you're talking to people who aren't like any of those things, like whatever it is. Has anyone managed to successfully capture their attention? They didn't. How are they doing it? Do they have a mailing list or a podcast, et cetera? Like if I were you, would have a list of these things and figure out how you can get on there, right? Can you exchange guest posts? Can you be a guest yourself? What does that look like? And if you can get to a point where you're consistently growing your audience, and you're not really worried about like, man, I don't know, my audience didn't grow this month, it didn't grow this week. I think that's like a really great milestone for you to hit. Like, hey, I figured out like a repeatable thing that I can do to grow my audience. I think at that point, it's really good to like turn the switch and be like, okay, now I'm going to use my audience to funnel them into like a Slack chat or a Telegram group or a discourse forum or like something where you can actually get them interacting with each other and start building your community. But I wouldn't flip that switch until you get to the point where you've got sort of the repeatable like acquisition thing going on. And while you're at it, like I said, experiment with your message and see what really resonates with people. And you can like kind of sort of get a little community going on your mailing list as well. For example, if you encourage your subscribers to like respond to you or you ask them questions, you can then publish things that they've said back to each other in like your subsequent newsletters or share their stories, etc. And I think that's kind of a way to like get people feeling like they're part of a community, even if they're on a mailing list. Because quite frankly, like you don't ever have to expand. Like you could, for example, your end game could be a mailing list.
Yeah.
I know like at school, basically, or the college I went to, like we get like an email from like, I guess the president of our class, like once every 6 months, sharing the accomplishments of people in my class. Like that's kind of cool to see. It kind of makes me feel like I'm bonded to my class and people are doing this thing and I want to share what I'm doing as well. And it's just an email. So
that is pretty awesome. Didn't think of that. That's valuable. I have another question, which is how do you balance the two between the substance, which is the content around these mental models, and the design piece of it? I struggle with that a lot because I definitely want the product to be beautiful and catchy and all that, but I also need to make sure that the substance matters. People who are reading it, consuming it, they're getting really the value out of it. Right. How do you balance that? I know at this point of the stage in indie hackers, you probably don't have to worry much, but when you're starting things out, I mean, your time, your resources. Your resources.
Oh man, it gets worse. It gets worse.
Yeah. Oh, it does. Okay.
Worse. Yeah, you worry more. I don't know, man. I think it's your personal aesthetic preference. Okay. It really is a reflection of your personality. Like I was a designer before I was a developer.
Okay.
I care a lot about design. I have all sorts of like personal quirks around. Like I don't want poorly designed things to get out there. How important is that really? Like I don't know. I've never measured it.
Very subjective.
Like, to some degree, like it is because like for some people, they're very like aesthetic people. They pay attention to the smallest details. They want to know that like it kind of is a reflection on you and like your talent or your care or your skill or whatever you want to call it, like how much you pay attention to those details. But for some people, they just want the content and that's it. And like you can optimize in either direction. I'd say just whatever you pick, focus on that and just do it the best that you can.
Okay.
Like the only wrong answer is to do everything in a mediocre way.
Yeah, which I agree with. Awesome. Thanks, Courtland. I think I've got all my questions answered.
Cool. Yeah. Send me. You got my email. So I want to be on your mailing list.
Okay. Sounds good. We'll do.
All right. Cool.
Yep.
Vulcan, you're up next. Thanks so much for your.
Yep. Thanks. Bye.
All right, Vulcan. Once you get in here, why don't you tell me what you're up to and how it can help?
Can you hear me fine? Yeah.
Yep.
Great.
Oh, cool setup. I think it's like a full podcast.
Thanks. Yeah, I just brought a microphone recently, and then I saw your post on Twitter, and I was like, "This is the destiny or something."
I should be using mine. I feel left out here. Let me change my mic setup on Zoom. Hold on one sec.
All right. Can you hear me?
You're a little quiet. Want to try it?
Okay, what about now?
You're maybe a little bit more.
I'm just gonna use my headset. I'm just messing around.
Okay, yeah.
I'll just have it here for effect. How about that?
Yeah, that's perfect. Your mic's good anyways. So yeah, so at the start I was just going to talk about one product, but it kind of leads way into another product that I was thinking about. So the first product is basically, so it's like a SaaS focused landing page builder.
Mm-hmm.
So I was building a SaaS product before. I spent a lot of time just changing that, and I spent a bit too much time on there. And then that I shut that down, and then was doing some freelancing. And then the thought came to me that maybe I could build a landing page builder myself, because I've got a bunch of expertise in it. And then so I've slowly been building that out, and it's going quite well. I've showed it to a few users. They enjoyed it. Yeah.
Cool. How's it going so far? I mean, you've shown it.
So I've shown it to a few people. I just built the landing page today, rushed it today, but it was quite easy because I have the landing page builder. So yeah. And then my main issues isn't really issues. It's more to like clarification from your expertise in interviewing people and stuff, and doing the interviews. So the launching strategy would something be like launch it to indie hackers, take their feedback, improve the product, and then maybe like launch it to Product Hunt. Does that sound?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of like the slow roll launch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even like the term launch. I was talking to AJ, the creator of Card, about this. Where like, I don't know, like when I hear the word launch, it just makes me think of like a rocket ship that's launching into space, right? And that's kind of what it's modeled off of. Like you've got like all this work that you're doing as a scientist, as an engineer for months and months and years, and then finally your thing is done and you launch it to the world. And like, the reason I don't like that is because it's like, I think it's a misrepresentation of like what's actually you need to succeed, which is like repeatedly like trying to distribute your product to the right customers who will pay for it. And that process never ends. It's not like one moment in time. And you might have bigger spikes than others where like you're on Indie Hackers, you're on Hacker News or Product Hunt or whatever. But like you should always be launching. Like you should always be trying to get your product in the hands of people. And you're trying to figure out a way to do that like repeatedly. And so if you talk about like a launch strategy, like for you, if you think your product is ready to like blast out to lots of people, I think what you need more than anything is a reason to do that, right? Like what are you going to learn? What are you going to accomplish by getting it in the hands of lots of people? Like why is now the right time to do that? Is it because you've talked to 20 people and they're all paying you for it and you've sort of validated your hypothesis that this is valuable, but you want to see if it's valuable at scale? Is it because you keep talking to lots of different people, but none of them will pay for what you're doing? And you really need to just like get some sort of one and done thing going where you can see, okay, if like a lot of people see it, will I find any signal in the noise and hone in on that particular group? Is it because when I launched Indie Hackers, like what I needed more than anything was a mailing list. And I was like, I need phase 2 of my plan is to build a community. Phase 1, I need people to read these interviews and like sign up for my mailing list. So like I need to put a mailing list subscription form front and center. And like that was my main goal, to get people onto a mailing list. And like I was doing the interviews basically as like sort of a means to that end. And so I think with any sort of big launch, you should have that in mind. But like before that, like, is anybody paying for what you built so far?
Not yet. So it's literally the product's just been built now. There's a few more tweaks that have to be done, and then it should be ready to be used. Like I built a landing page with it, but I can only build it because I know how to use it. If that makes sense.
Right.
So it needs a bit more UI UX done, and then once that's done, it'd be ready in like probably a week or so.
Yep. And how long do you think it'll? Okay, so like a week. And you said you have some people who are kind of like they're using it.
Yeah. So I've had so I've screen shared and they've went over it, and then they've hit a few bugs, and then they've hit like certain like UI UX issues where they didn't know where to go, or this was a bit too complicated. So I've changed that around, and then each time it's got better and better, and every time the user's been able to do more and more stuff.
Okay. And what is you had to like boil it down, like what is the problem that your landing page builder solves? Like who is it for, and like why do they need it?
So the main issue is like people buy themes, but the problem with themes is like they're not normally SEO optimized, and they're not really built to convert. They're built for like the design awards and stuff. So the person has to invest a ton of hours reading the latest blog posts about the tactics of what to use, like putting in like meta tags and stuff. So it's basically saving them time and also making them more money because they convert better.
Okay. And so like, and then how does your product basically make good on solving that problem? Are you like, you're just doing all that stuff for them, or you're educating them at the same time they build their landing page?
So both. So what happens is you click on the landing page builder. It comes with pre-built templates, which has the best tactics already pre-built. And then as you go through, there was like help boxes that come up, so you can click on them and you can see like what top companies are doing, like the top SaaS companies like HubSpot and stuff. There's certain call to actions and how they word stuff, and then like using certain word types increase conversions like by a few 0.1%, 0.2%, and once you add all them up, you can double it.
Yeah, I think it's cool. That's really cool. I think there's a lot of people who would like to use that, especially like fledgling entrepreneurs. Like ideally, you catch people in this phase where they don't have a landing page yet. That's like,
but there's like a phase where they've built like something just to get out, like a coming soon page or a quick one, and now they realize that they're getting users on, but there's one of the big complaints is that. So that's where the sweet spot is, I think.
Yeah. So if I were you, like I guess like the danger with like just going to like a website like Product Hunt, and I love Product Hunt, don't get me wrong, like I've launched stuff there too. It's just kind of like a one and done thing, you know?
Yeah.
And like it's good, like you should go there, but you should just keep in mind like it's gonna be one and done, and you need to like have gotten to a good place before you submit on Product Hunt, because like you want your launch to go well. Like you want to get to the top. Ideally, you want to get a lot of subscribers. You want those people to like pay you ideally for what you built. And so like I would say like those are the things that I would try to validate before Product Hunt. And unless I had like a lot of like frustration, like I couldn't find any users, or I couldn't talk to anybody, or no one would pay, and like I slogged it out, I wouldn't post on Product Hunt first.
Yeah, that was my goal anyways. It was more like a slow, it was like launching wouldn't be the right term, I guess. It would be like a slow launch where you post to like the smaller sites. Well, first of all, like I'd go Indie Hackers and then talk to people on there, which I've already done. I've already spoke to a few people, and I've screen shared with them, and then that's been super useful. And then slowly build that up, and then maybe do like beta list and beta page. They have smaller reach, but they'll be able to get me more users who I can test and make sure the pricing's right and stuff. Because if I only speak to 10 people, the testing pricing is pretty difficult. Stuff like that.
So the other thing I would say, like in relation to that, is don't be afraid to just talk to like small numbers of people. It's very underrated to do things that don't scale. In the beginning, like your goal is not really to like test prices on large numbers of people and find like the sweet spot. Like that's not going to happen for a long time. Like honestly, there are companies with millions of users who are still like testing pricing. Like that's not something you should be concerned about, like driving your strategy right now. Like you're totally cool talking to small handfuls of people one-on-one and doing like, tests, like anecdotal sort of tests that way. And the reason why is this. Number one, it's easier. You don't have to be that clever. You can do it forever. Number two, it's like way more like, I guess high fidelity would be the word. Like when you launch on one of these bigger sites, like you're not going to get that much feedback. You're going to get some feedback, but it's going to be really impersonal. It's going to be hard to interact with it. People are going to send you a message or something, and maybe you'll send one back, and like that'll be the end of that. If you actually like talk to somebody one-on-one, like pull someone from Indie Hackers into like a chat, like DM them on Twitter, and like have a back and forth going, like get on a call with them, like a Zoom call or something, and like share your screen as you're building a landing page for them or watching them do it, and like get their actual feedback. And the number of back and forth you have when you have like a phone call conversation or an in-person conversation is staggering compared to the number that you have otherwise. And you'll just learn a lot more. Like if I were you, like I might talk to like 100 people. When I started Indie Hackers, I probably talked to like 150 people before I launched in like 3 weeks, where it was like having, I mean, they weren't like the most involved calls, but it's like, I was actually like talking to a lot of people to try to figure out like, did they like this? What did it mean? And like, I also like had the benefit of reading Hacker News and seeing comments where people said exactly what they liked and didn't. With you, since you're building like a SaaS product, it's going to have to be more hands-on. But I think you'll learn a lot during that process. And like, I don't think you should discount it because like the numbers are relatively small. Like I think.
No, I definitely wasn't discounting that. Like I had a way to get people on board. Like, so you know how you have your hashtags on Indie Hackers?
Yep.
I was thinking of like a new hashtag, like 15 for 15. So basically you come on and you trade your skills. So I've got expertise now in landing pages because I've been studying them, and they might have expertise in UI. So they come on, test the landing page, help me out with the UI, and then maybe I help them out with their landing page. So then that way,
you can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, like honestly, like you could offer to build people's landing pages for them too, since your product isn't even, like, it's not done yet and you need to do it. Like you could immediately say like, hey, I'll offer, like, you don't even necessarily need to get like a trade. Like you could just offer to do things for people. And basically the thing that you're doing is your product. And since your product is helpful and it's what they need, like them using your product is really a favor to them and it helps you. You could do that on a regular basis if you wanted to. There's also like the landing page feedback hashtag on Indie Hackers, where people have sort of like built these fledgling landing pages. Some are more advanced than others, but like there's someone you can tell like this person it's very early stage. There's also on Product Hunt, they have like their sort of, I forget what it's called. I think it's like Ship or something, but it's like they have their whole thing where it's like sign up to be notified when this thing goes live. Where like people, like it's a whole product geared towards people who don't have a landing page yet. I think they have many thousands of people who have like put up these like coming soon pages that you might be able to reach out to, or somehow maybe you could sign up for them.
That's a good way,
and get in contact with them and like say, hey, can I build you a landing page? Or maybe even just like try building them a landing page. That's like a great sales tactic. If somebody's trying to do something and you just like do it for them, and you're like, hey, what do you think about this?
Because I could do it in literally like 30 minutes and then.
Like just try it, and like you'll get some good feedback. Like maybe people hate your landing pages, you know, maybe they love them, maybe they want a slight tweak, right? Or maybe you can like educate them and like explain to them what's going on. But like I would, if I were you, like I don't see any reason why you can't get to the point where you have dozens of people paying you a monthly fee or a one-time fee or whatever your business model is for what you're doing, well before you start like having anything like more expansive than one-on-one conversations.
Okay. Yeah. So my goal was to have like 10 one-on-ones, but after this, I'm thinking scale it up, do a lot more.
The longer that you can build your business while doing things that don't scale, the better. Like honestly, if you could get to the point where you're profitable and you haven't launched anywhere, like that would be fucking amazing. Obviously, if you've gotten that far, like you probably could have launched already. But like I just see a lot of people launch like what I would say is too early, and it's not like you should. Like I think the advice to get what you're doing out there early is good. But I think the advice to like launch early is not great. Like get it out there, get it in front of people like you're doing right now, and like validate your ideas and try to make sales. Like drive home, like here's what I'm building. Will you pay for it? When they tell you no, you'll find out what the objections are, and like that's what you need to solve. But I think doing that early is fine. But like don't like blow your one shot at Product Hunt before like doing that stuff. And it doesn't sound like you're going to. So I think you're on the right track.
Yeah, no, you did. I was definitely on board with what you're saying, but then you've made me think invest even more into the long term.
Yeah, there's just nothing. There's just no reason to rush it unless you've like somehow exhausted all the one-on-one calls. I mean, like your price point determines things as well. Like ultimately, if you're going to be selling something for like $5 a month or $10 a month, which I don't recommend, then like at a certain point, like you can only like talk to people far enough. Like if you've talked to 10 people and you've sold them at $10 a month, like maybe it is time to launch and go for a much bigger distribution channel and try to figure out how to get more people in the door. But if you were charging like, I don't know, $100 a month or $200 a month, like you can probably just talk to people individually and do sales all the way to the point of profitability and never have to launch anywhere. And
the product's quite cheap at the start, but then the roadmap should increase the price up to near that range.
That's the other thing you can do having one-on-one calls is like throw out random prices to people and like try to talk to a variety of people. So like one source might be you're talking to indie hackers on the forum. Like probably these people aren't going to pay you that much money because they don't have very much money. Like they're in the phase where they don't really have anything. You might be able to talk to like bigger businesses who are trying to put out, I don't know, landing pages for like little products they're launching or different parts, maybe even internal tools or programs they're doing. Right? There's like all sorts of potential customers who you don't necessarily know. And you're only going to be able to find out like what they're using your tool for and how much they'll pay for it if you have like a one-on-one conversation. And there might be some niche of people who are willing to pay you $200 a month for this because it's literally negligible to them. Like I did a podcast with my friend Len, and she runs a website called Key Values, and she's like helping companies put together like profiles for their companies, like kind of like cultural profiles to help them hire engineers. And like what she's building, like what she ultimately ends up with is not that much different than a landing page. It's just like a website with like a bunch of answers on it and a bunch of information on it. And it's like she's charging $5,000 a year, right? Because like the target company she has and the problem she's helping them solve with the page she's helping them build is very specific and very valuable to them. So I would say like talk to people one-on-one, do that for as long as you can. Try talking to like a diverse set of people from different backgrounds, quoting different prices, try to get a feel for like why they would use something like this. And maybe you'll hit on like a much better, more valuable market that's easier to find or easier to sell to, or will pay you more money and build features that are tailored towards them. and go in that direction before you ever like launch to any sort of mass market.
Yeah, do you have any tips of finding like diverse groups?
They're everywhere, man. Like I would just say like, just don't like, the issue that I have with like the product hunt, Hacker News, Indie Hackers, like let's all launch here is like, it's just like, it's just not that, there's not that much, right? Like you can, for example, like, I don't know, just do a Google search of communities, like online communities, and there'll be like 100 communities that come up, like a community for designers, communities for whatever. Go look at like those communities and think like, is there any way people in this community could use like a landing page builder, right? What are designers creating? Do they need landing page builders? Like maybe designers have the design, right? But they don't necessarily know how to like put the HTML and CSS on the page. Like that's how you could help them. Maybe there's a community of salespeople, right? And like you can get into the community of salespeople and like talk to them about like, maybe they need landing pages for, I don't know, like their resumes, and they're trying to get jobs with salespeople and they think it'll be great to build resumes and you have a perfect landing page builder for them. Like, I would just say like, try to think broad. Like, I don't know if there's any one magic trick, but like there's so many people on earth who are organized into so many like pre-existing audiences that you can reach for different reasons. And if you have a tool that like, you've kind of built one audience in mind, then like, yeah, that might be a good audience because that's who you built it for. But I would say don't count out the other groups necessarily because specifically like the audience that you built this for, like, I don't think they're going to pay a ton of money. And if there is someone else who pay more money, then like, I think it's worth spending a little bit of time trying to find them or talk to them.
Okay.
The last thing I will say is like, I don't know like how much reading you've done on Indie Hackers, like the interviews.
Yeah, I've read a lot. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, like one of my favorite tricks is to just try to find parallels. Like generally speaking, like everything has been done before in some form or fashion. Like, is there someone who has a business that's like sort of, kind of, and the same like industry as yours or takes the same shape as yours? Like, go look at their story, figure out like how they've made money in the early days, et cetera, and try to map it onto for what you're doing. And even if they look very different than yours, sometimes there's some parallels. Like Indie Hackers is almost like a rip-off of Nomad List, and it looks nothing like Nomad List. It's a completely different industry than Nomad List. Like no one would ever guess, but like the business models and strategies for like early stage growth for both of Indie Hackers and Nomad List are almost like a one-to-one mapping of exactly how it was done. I think there's a lot of companies that can do the same thing, and it's sort of an underutilized tactic. And that's kind of why I created the interviews, to help people sort of like figure out like, oh, how did this person do this? Maybe I can do the same things. So I would say maybe go back through a few of those that stood out to you. Use the filters on the side, filter towards people who are like, I don't know, maybe targeting developers or in a certain revenue range or have a solo founder, and like skim through the titles and see if any of them are in the same industry as you that might be worth looking at. But I don't know, man, there's no magic like way to get the right idea to find your customer. But I just think it's good not to be too closed off too soon if you run into a problem like the customers won't pay for what you're doing or they won't pay that much. Because I just hear story after story of people like thinking that like they can't sell what they're doing or it's not going to be expensive, and then they just like, instead of like going back to the drawing board, they just talk to different people, and it turns out like they were just talking to the wrong person the whole time.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I think I got a plan now. Talk to the Indie Hackers, but go out and try to find other groups. Sales could be a good group. Like if they're trying like real estate people or something, I may be able to build quick templates for them, and because they're not tech savvy, they'll be willing to pay higher.
Yeah, could be
Stuff like that.
Who knows? I had something I was gonna say, I just totally forgot it. I guess what I was gonna say is like, if you talk to the people on Indie Hackers, like you talk to these early stage SaaS founders, and like it turns out they're gonna pay you, like that's totally fine. You know, if you found your market and like they're like, we're gonna pay you, or it turns out they just need like a few switches to pay you, that's totally fine. So I would do the exploratory phase, but like definitely stick with like your core niche that you've already researched to build your product for, and make sure that like that's not going to work before you go like crazy into the others. But like I would talk to the others as well, because I think it's more likely than not that like people who don't have a business yet and are just sort of exploring ideas are going to pay you less than other more established companies who already have like money coming in the door, and they're just trying to figure out how they can use your tool to make more money easier.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Hopefully it was helpful.
Thanks. Yeah, it was very helpful.
I'm just like shotgun firing like every idea.
Yeah, what do you idea?
All right, Vulcan. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. That is it. I think you're the last person. It's been an hour and 20 minutes. I'm gonna do these more often. Hopefully I'll do another one next week at some point. But I will see you on
these are like, yeah, so some of my favorite ones. I always watch these office hours. I find them super interesting.
Cool. Any guests you think I should have on? Because I'm interviewing a lot of people, and I feel like most of them will be like cool coming on here and talking to people.
I'm not sure. The guys I normally listen to in podcasts are quite big, so but like Rob Wallen and stuff would be amazing. But
yeah,
the chance of getting him on's pretty.
I emailed Rob last week, and he said he would do an AMA and an office hour.
That's cool.
So keep your eyes peeled. He'll be on here.
Yeah, that'd be super cool.
Cool. All right, Vulcan. Well, thanks so much for coming on. Thanks to everybody else for coming on. Hopefully, the advice I gave you wasn't too bad. This has been Courtland with Indie Hackers with another Indie Hackers Office Hours. Stay tuned on indiehackers.com/office-hours for more sessions like this. Or if you're on the newsletter, just like skim through the links when we send them, and you'll see some office hours coming up soon. I would do a lot more of these with a lot more guests and a lot more founders. Thanks so much.